Hi friends, good evening all, and once again I'm happy to welcome you all for Monkeys Monday. It's the third episode, third consecutive week we are doing the same program. So I'm so glad at least we crossed the first challenge which we had ourselves. So all of us might be familiar with what is Monkeys Monday is all about. Like whoever it is, whoever attended the first episode, and on the second episode also, I have given an introduction about it. And the third, I don't require I don't think it requires another introduction for Monkeys Monday now. So let us quickly jump into the topic directly. Again, it is me, which Sathish Nadarajan, and today let us discuss about how to do the logging and exception handling in an SPFx webpack. Usually we will be doing the logging and exception handling using the PNP logger, right? So now, as a bit beyond that, what else we can do? Instead of logging it in the console or instead of logging it into a text file, why can't we leverage the Azure App Insight itself, so that in future we can do or analyze the exception pattern or analyze the traces much more better when we go for the Azure Application Insight. So basically all of us might be heard about what is an App Insight, right? So App Insight, it is a service provided by Azure, and which is meant which is meant to track what are all the things are happening. It's a kind of a small logging database table where you are going to write all your entries, entered into the method, crossed this particular method, or exception occurred on this method. So there are n number of whatever you want, you can dump it into that particular table. At one point of time, we have certain query statements. By executing the query statements with all our conditions, it can be an I'll show you that the query statements exactly. So by executing those queries, we can get back the results easily from the table. The only advantage of, instead of writing the same functionality, we can write it in a CSV file or a .log file, wherever we can write. But the querying mechanism and export this data to any of the data grade or connect this data with a Power BI and have a visualized look or have a pattern of your exception. So all these things are very easy when we go with the App Insight. So that's the purpose of App Insight, right? So here, let's come back to that, what we are going to do today. The agenda is very clear and straightforward, and I'm not going to take the entire 1 hour today, probably, because the agenda, it's very simple. We took one proper functionality and we are going to discuss about it. So for that, let's see what is an App Insight and how we are going to integrate it with the various logging mechanisms and the exception mechanisms, and then we will have a quick demo. We'll have few minutes for questions. Hardly it will not take more than 30 minutes. That's what I am anticipating. Let's see, at the end of this session, we will be knowing about how to create an App Insight, how to implement, how to create an SPFx web part with logging mechanisms properly. Okay, so that is what the expectation of this particular session. Okay, let me go back and start creating. As usual, let's go back to the portal. As I said, the first step, we need to create a App Insight, right? So before creating an App Insight, let me create one resource group, and so that it'll be easy for me to delete the resource group. That's the reason. So Monkeys Monday, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, creating a resource group. Okay, let's create a resource group, and inside that resource group, I'm going to add a resource. Okay, application insights. So okay, or else we can have it like Monkeys Monday App Insight. Okay, Right, the region and all those things, I'm not going to worry about it, since because in another 30 minutes I'm going to delete the entire resource group. So let's create it. So we got our app insight got created. Okay, this is my app insight. Okay, so now the app insight doesn't have anything else. Okay, let me show you that. Okay, this is like, yeah. So this is what the logs we are going to have a look on it. And here, if you have a look, these are all the application insight categories which we can create. In our session, or usually we will be more interested on the traces, exceptions, and the events. So these are all the three important things we will be mostly interested on. So the traces, at what scenario we will write the traces, like whenever we want to know the application crossed which method, or what is the parameter passed for that particular method, and what is the latest functionality happened with that method. So these kind of questions, like these kind of things, will be coming under your traces category. And the event, it is the custom event. Like all of us know, there are certain events within the SPFx or any application. This, and one more important thing I just wanted to tell you is app insight logging. It is not only meant for SPFx, it is a generic place or generic table. It can be considered as a generic table. In our case, we are using, like for SPFx, we are using app insight or as our like logging table kind of stuff. So that's the only that's the key thing which I wanted to remember. So in this case, the custom event, what is the custom event? It is nothing but, whenever, let us assume that I have a SPFx web part on which I have few buttons or few drop downs on change of change of that drop down, or on click of the button. I want that event to be captured as a custom event. So I can create my custom events and I can log them. So those kind of things, I'll be focusing on the custom events. And the third important category is exceptions. Like whenever an exception occurs within my web part, I want that exception to be captured. What are all the information I may be interested in? I may be interested in who's the current logged in user, when the exception happened, and in which tenant it is happening. That's very important. Like in SPFx, probably whenever we are creating a web part, and when we distribute that web part, we are not sure whether that web part may be deployed or may be running from a different number of tenants, right? Today I'm giving the same web part, like weather web part. Let us take an example. The weather web part can be given to a customer 1, and the same web part will be given to the customer 2. The customer 1's tenant may be like a customer1.sharepoint.com/site/team site, and for the customer 2, the tenant will be customer2.sharepoint.com. So by considering these things, we need to capture like the tenant, and who is the current logged in user, and what's the time, and what's the method, what's the class. So these are all the various important aspects we might be interested in terms of debugging. If any error occurs and the customer comes back to you stating that your web part is not working, so in that case, I don't need to ask any traces. I don't need to ask any traces or any log from the customer. If I monitor it, like I should be able to get what exactly the exception occurs from the app insight itself. Like, so these are all the three important things we can see. So now, as usual, I'll open a notepad and we will write down what are all the steps we have followed. So the first step is we created an app insight, right? And then the next step, what we are going to do, we are going to create a SPFx web part. Okay, let me go and let me create a folder. Monkeys Monday demo, right? So let's take this. Let me open a command there. Okay, now let's create a SharePoint like SPFx solution. Let it be Monkeys Monday demo. I don't mind about it. Let's uh, use the current folder. Okay. Okay, feature deployment. No. Okay, and requires the permission. It's going to be the web part, and the web part name is what we can give. Monkeys Monday demo. Let the name also like this. Okay, and I'm going to use a React framework web part. So let it get created. It'll take a couple of minutes. In the meanwhile, if you guys have any doubts, you can post it. We can go through the questions once. In the meanwhile. In the meanwhile, if you have any doubts till the time, I don't want to waste it. If you have any doubts, please post it on the Q&A section. We can have a look on it side by side until it gets created. Oh my god, it's taking much time than we anticipated. Okay, it came up to the workbench. Let's wait for a minute. Yep. Yeah, that's perfect. So now we got our SPFX solution. It got created. Let me clean and let me ensure that it's building properly. Okay, that's perfect. Now we'll have a look on it. What exactly? I'm not going to explain the structure of this SPFx WebPart before, because we are in an assumption that everyone knows about the structure of the SPFx WebPart. So here, like, let's have a directly jump into the WebPart, and this is my webpart.ts, and this is my components. I'm not going to write anything else here. What we can do is, let's write, we are going like on init. That's the first method for this WebPart, right? For anything like from the ASP.NET legacy ASP.NET era onwards, we are very much focused on the on init. Whoever the legacy developer, they might be very familiar with this event or the page lifecycle. Similarly, we have an on init for this web part also. So we are going to capture our traces or the custom events or the exceptions from the on init event onwards. Okay, and then we will move on to the components. As soon as a component gets loaded, we will be what we can do is we can start writing it, and we can write our logs from here also. Okay, before jumping into that, let me take few of the files, have few custom files. Okay, so this is the common, and let's go back to the demo and paste it. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a couple of files into my solution. That's it. So these are all the couple of files which I was talking about. There's one file called AppInsight, like AppInsight worker, and this constants and utilities are nothing but we can segregate as per our convenience. So what we have done is I have created these three files and kept it for our reference. Okay. Here, if you have a look on it, there are few node packages which is throwing an exception. What we need to do is let's install the missing node packages. Okay. So I'm going to npm install at pnp/logging, and let's save this. Okay. So the first time saving this pnp logging, I'm installing that node package. Or else even if you install npm install, it will get installed. It will install all the missing packages, but I don't want to do that. I just wanted to show you what are all the things and how to rectify what step by step. So the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the application insight. This is what. Okay. Okay, it got installed. As soon as it is getting installed, you can see that the exceptions are going out. Okay, that's perfect. Npm install at Microsoft/application insights React.js. Okay. Yep, it got installed. So with this, we are clear with all the exceptions. Let's go back to our gulp command and ensure that it is building again. It's my practice, like whenever I make few changes, I'll ensure that it is not having any exceptions or it's not having any syntax errors. So as we said, like you cannot find the module JS. We are missing one more module. It is for the encryption, JSHA. So where it is, it should be on the utilities. Yep, we will see that one by one what are all the files, and I'll show you what it is exactly. Again, we are going to install JSHA. That's the reason I used to do the gulp build frequently. Okay, so it got installed. Let's go back to the commander and once again build. Okay, so we got it created, it's building properly. Okay, that's it. With this, what we have done is we have installed or we have added few files, and we ensured that the solution it's building properly. Okay, nothing like I'll explain you what exactly this worker class and what is that this constant, and what are all the files we have added, we will explain it. The rest of the things we have not yet started, or we haven't updated any of the default files created by the Yeoman generator. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the logger. Like all of us remember, all of us know that usually we will be doing this. So what we are going to do, from add PNP and then logging. Okay, what are all the things I'm going to import? I'm going to import the logger and the log level only. Oh my god. Okay, log level. Only these two things I'm going to import, and Control Shift F will format you. Okay, now what we can do is let's look at the like we need to initialize, or we need to subscribe for this logger. So the subscribe, where we need to do, usually we like, as I told you, on init is the best place to subscribe, to create your subscribe. But here, if let me Control K, Control 0, what it will do. Okay, so let's have a look on it. What are all the methods? Do I have the on init event? No. So what we can do is let's start writing it. Public on init. What is the event which I have? Yep, promise, and it's going to be the return. I'm going to return something. So obviously the on init should return a promise method. So for that reason, I'm going to return an on init. Like I'm not going to return at all anything, but even then the return statement, it is mandatory. Okay. Then what I'm doing is, okay, let's have it. Yeah. So here, whatever you want to subscribe, you can subscribe, but I'm going to subscribe here, logger dot subscribe. I'm going to subscribe with what I have. Before that, I'm going to import this App Insights worker as well. We will have a look on it. This is the class AI log listener from. It's going to be the like monkey demo slash components. No, even before that. It's going to be the properties. Okay, monkeys Monday demo, and it should go one more level, right? Okay. Oh my god. One sec. Yep. Common services slash AppInsight worker. Okay. So this is what I'm going to subscribe for a new method. business service of this. Let's close this. Okay. And I'm going to pass the current context like a current user. So this dot context dot page context dot user dot email. Okay, so this user email, I'll tell you what exactly this is. By using this email only, we are going to see who's the current logged in user. So now what happens is we have registered or we have subscribed this logger with this particular solution. That's the first step we have done. Okay, and after that, here onwards, once it got subscribed, you can start writing anything you want. Like immediately what I'm going to do, let's write this one. Okay, logger.log. There are a few items which you can write as usual. Okay, the JSON object which I'm passing. What are all the JSON objects we are going to pass? We can messages, nothing but entered into the on init, right? So the next one is the label. It's going to be the log level dot. You can have it. Log level dot. I'm going to call it as warning or info, error, whatever it is. For the exception, we will be calling the error. And now I'm going to write it as a warning. I'll tell you, we'll see. Go back when we are going back, we will see that. Okay, and then the next property is either the data. You can pass the data or not. Like here, usually what I'll be doing is I'll be doing like monkeys Monday demo webparts.ts, and what method exactly it is on in it, and this is how I'll do, right? Perfect. Now I have written a warning statement. Okay, I'll show you what exactly it is going to get right in. And before we expect that, the constant file what we have created, I need to delete few of the things. Okay, few of the things, let me delete them. Okay, so let's go back to our application insight. So this is what the application insight which we have created, right? So here I'm going to copy the instrumentation key. This instrumentation key, you can copy it, place the earlier instrumentation key, and the environment is monkeys Monday. That's what the environment I'm going to give, and this is what the constant file looks like. And the web part version, let's keep it as 1. Okay, that's perfect. And so with this we are done. So the constants, I'm updating the constants with the web part, or what is my web part, and the application insight name, like instrumentation key, I copied it from my Azure portal. And what is the current web part name, and what is this? Like here, this is where the end user, the user email, which we hope you remember, like we were passing it from while subscribing. I'm passing the current logged in user's email. So that email will be like it got encrypted using the SHA algorithm. That's the reason we imported the SHA algorithm, and by using that we are encrypting it and writing the current user on our AppInsight records. So that's what it is happening in the utilities. And on the constants, we saw all our things, like instead of writing this environment key many times, we are making it into a single entry and keeping it as a separate file. And this worker class, like thanks to Andrew, and so he's the one who created this worker. So like basically, if you have a look on it, it has all our logging functions, and this is what my AppInsight instance. And based upon the verbose, whatever the value which we are giving, we are doing some actions. I'll explain you in detail. Like let us see first. What I'm trying to do is, let's see it in action, and then we will see what exactly it is. So it will give more clarity. That's what I hope. So what we are going to do, let's do one more round of instance. Now we don't need to do the gulp build. We can directly serve the gulp serve. Okay. So even the gulp serve will also tell you. Yeah. Okay. Proceed with that. Yep. Here, what I'm going to do is spfiles.sharepoint.com/site/team site. Okay, let's have a look on it. I'm going to log in as a different user. I'm going to sign into my tenant. Then only we will get the current user. The local workbench, we will not get the current logged in user. That's the reason. Okay. Okay. Okay, I logged in into a team site. Okay, that's perfect. And then what we can do is let's go back to the workbench. This is my SharePoint workbench. And here, let us Monkeys Monday demo. This is the web part which we had, right? So it means the web part got loaded properly. That's perfect. What we can do is let's go back, refresh this. Where is the log? Yeah, this is what the log analytics. Okay, and I'm writing it the custom events. Okay, so there is no data now. Let's wait for a minute so that whatever the entry which we are creating, it's having a latency of almost a minute to two, and even it is more for the exceptions. The traces we are getting it very immediately, but for the custom events and the exceptions, it's taking few more time, a few more minutes. That's it. But it will come. Okay, so let it come. In the meanwhile, what I'm going to do is let's write a few other exceptions as well. For example, so on init, I'm going to write a try block. Okay, and I'm going to have a catch block. On the catch, I'll get the exceptions again. Yep, format them, and here console.log of the web part loaded. Now calling the exception. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw voluntarily, I'm going to throw something. Okay, this is what the exception triggered. And now let's write the same thing in the logger.log of what I'm going to do. We are going to pass the same three parameters. The first one, I'm going to do whatever the error dot message, usually we will be writing it as an exception dot message, and the log level is going to be log level dot error, and the data, again the data, obviously I'll be passing the same thing. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we are triggering an exception manually or intentionally. I'm triggering an exception and trying to log it. Okay, let's go back to the gulp and ensure that it got built without any exception. Yeah, it has a warning. Okay, that's perfect, that's understandable. And let us go back to the workbench. Okay, let's go back. Let me refresh it. I have done few refreshes. Okay, now let's go back to our AppInsight and see whether it's coming. Yeah, hope you can see that. So this is the log or the custom event which we created few minutes back. And now after a few minutes, I did something for the logging. So for the logging, where we will get, for the exception, where we will get, we will go back to this exceptions. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Run. It will take few minutes. As I said, the exceptions, it will take few minutes. Okay. Let's see that. Yeah. We'll have a look on it. Yeah. In the meanwhile, this is my custom event. And here we will have a look on it. What are all the properties which we have captured? So this is the timestamp and this is the name of the event. But like we can filter our custom events or this app insights. As I said, it is not only meant for our SharePoint Framework WebParts. It is meant for your tenant. Many applications in your tenant. Let us assume that if I'm working for a customer, the customer may have only one Azure tenant, and they may have many applications. So those applications, all other applications, they will be writing it into the single app insights tenant. So our application should have a different name, so that we can filter based upon the name also. Like we can write a lot of queries where name or name contains or equals or whatever it is. You can write it contains like ABC. It will not return anything, right? Obviously, if it contains a monkey, it's going to return the value. Yeah. Now we have the second timestamp. So you can see that after a few minutes, we got the second entry also. So in that case, in the exception also, I'm expecting that. Yep. Here we got the exception also captured here, right? If you have a look on it, whatever the information which we are given in the exception, it will be listed here. Okay, I'll show you that. We will go one by one. And now let's have a look on it. So this is the timestamp and this is the name, and what is the custom type, like what is the item type? It is going to be the custom event. And what is the custom dimension? Now what is the message exactly we passed it? I passed entered into the onInit method, and from where it comes, so the data and the operation name, who is the operation ID, what is the operation ID, operation parent ID, and this is the user ID. So this is the encrypted user, so that we can see and we can easily have a look on it. And all other steps, in which page it is, which app it is. So all these things are captured by default. It's very easy, right? So this is what the event is all about. And let's have a look on the exception. What exactly the exceptions which we are capturing? The problem statement or the problem ID, and the type was which we passed, and I'll show you the method, the exception which we passed. Okay. Yeah, this is what the message, and where exactly it is coming from. Perfect. So this is how it will be written. So you can have a look on all these items. And one thing, let's go back to the solution and let's go to this worker. As I said here, for the warning, I'm creating a track event. Okay, and for the error, I'm creating a track exception, and for the info, we are creating a track trace. So in that case, let's have one more example. Logger.log. Let's copy the same thing. Instead of the warning, I'm going to give it as an info. so that it will write it on the traces. Okay, entered into on init traces, right? Okay, before that let's have a look on the traces and ensure that no record is there. Okay, right. Let's type it. Okay, yeah, there are few messages. Probably it's because of the verbose it is capturing once you register it. Okay, that's the reason it's coming from our workbench itself. But let's see what happens now. So after we saved, the gulp serve built it properly. I'm going back to the site. Okay, refresh the workbench. Yep, so it got loaded and I'm expecting few more records, like one more record on the trace, but let's wait for a minute, otherwise it will not get loaded. Yeah, it's 302. I'm expecting now the time is around 310 or 311 it should be. Okay, sorry guys, I said I should be able to complete in 30 minutes, but I'm taking 10 more minutes. Okay, probably I just wanted to show you the step by step from the creation, from the scratch onwards. Don't want to show that pre-cooked code. Okay, the traces, why it is taking a long time. Few more refreshes. I'm doing few more refreshes and ensure that the file got saved, and it's going to be info. Let me go to that info track trace. It should be there. Okay. Not sure why it is not showing, but let's wait for a minute, one more minute. It should probably, as I said, it's taking the custom event. It will be captured, or it's captured very quickly. But the traces and the exceptions, it's taking few minutes or few minutes to write it on the AppInsight. Okay, so guys, probably let's not waste our time here. So this is where your traces will get logged in. Okay, so you can have a look on this traces, and even the rest of the things also, it's where it will be very interesting. It starts capturing as it is. If you have a look on it, the page view. So far I have refreshed the page 4 times. So the 4 times the pages is getting viewed. So these like this is how it is. It has been captured, like the exception, page view, metrics, custom events, traces. You can capture almost all the entries about your application. So it will be very helpful, like all these things you can export it into any of the data catalog or data lake or any other visualization tools as well. And then you can, by writing a lot of logics, we can see that from which web part or from where most of your exceptions are occurring. So those kind of things you can make an thoughtful decisions based upon this AppInsight logs. Okay, that's the main purpose of this one. So with this, I'm done, guys. I don't have anything else. So this is the simplest way of implementing the stuff. Hope everyone enjoyed the session. Please do let me know if you have any questions. Let's wait for a couple of minutes to answer few of the questions.
Now we have only one question. Which version of SPFx we are using? 2.0 or something else?
Okay, so this one we can have a look on. This particular thing can be used with any number of I whatever the version, we don't bother about it for this logging. Okay. Okay, is there anything else?
No, bro.
Okay, thanks guys. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you
Yep.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye bye.